Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is Green Lantern Green Arrow, issue number 80, dated October 1970. And this is a part of the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams Traveling Heroes storyline. And in this issue, they're dealing with the subject of law and order, because the two things are very different, and that was one of the reasons why Denny O'Neil was attracted to working on this title, because Joel Schwartz gave him free reign to sort of look at more relevant issues, and this was one of the issues that really motivated Denny O'Neil, and I think it captured Neil Adams's imagination too, because he also put a lot of input in this story. I think Neil Adams had said after issue 81, they had pretty much dealt with the topics that he was most passionate with. So it wasn't like he was slacking with the issues afterwards, but the subjects that he wanted to touch on, he felt strongest about the earliest issues. And this is one of them. This is based on the famous Chicago 7 trial. That basically was a trial where the government put a number of hippie leaders on trial for conspiracy. And it was famous because this was the government's first real attempt to basically become fascist. And the trial was famous because the court system stopped the government, saying, no, you can't be this fascist. So it's really well known for the judicial system stepping in and saying, we're seeing enough fascism from Richard Nixon. We don't need to see any more. God, what Nixon would do with today's Supreme Court, because there seems to be no bottom with them. Or most of them. But nevertheless, at least at this point, the judicial system was willing to stop. However, it should be pointed out that after this trial, I think the infamous Lewis Powell memo came out. Lewis Powell was a Supreme Court justice. He was also kind of like a corporate bootlicker. And he basically, he came up with this memo, which basically told corporate America and all those cranks who have a lot of money and who are into that, to say, this is how you create a fascist America. So anyway, the cover is brilliant. It's based on a famous photograph here. We see our heroes. They are in metal restraints. Their mouths are closed, and they are being held at gunpoint while this judge is making it clear, hey, this is a fair and impartial trial. And, we were not, swayed in any way when we decided on the guilty verdict. So I'm going to go into the story. So I'm going to take a look at the splash page. The title of this story is Even an Immortal Can Die. The creative team, and I already talked about them, is Denny O'Neil, the artist by Neil Adams and Dick Giordano, and this is edited by Joel Schwartz. We see a setup here where previously the two heroes, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, they were out on the road. They were in a pickup truck, and they were going to kind of search for America, similar to what had occurred in the very popular movie Easy Rider. But at this point, it looks like they're tiring of the road, and they want to stay in a steady place. So it looks like they're going to be heading out to San Francisco at this point. The two guys, Hal and Oliver, they're loading the truck at this point, because it looks like they've been camping outdoors rather than staying in hotels. One of the Guardians, who is with the two heroes, he's acting sort of as an observer for the Guardians, because the strange thing about the Guardians is that they're an interplanetary council of judges that make the decision that they need to enforce a particular planet's laws. But they're pretty distant from the experiences of the people of that society whose laws that they're making sure are being enforced. So one of the guardians kind of stepped forward and said, listen, I'm going to be an observer. I'm going to take a look at what's going on and see whether, what we're doing is right. Because once again, law and justice are two different things. And one of the things that was very appealing to Denny O'Neil was the fact that when he was a civil rights reporter, he would often see very young police officers in the South enforcing these horrible segregation laws. But they saw what they were doing as nothing wrong. They were like, hey, we're enforcing the law. But Denny O'Neil would often ask, do you think this law is fair? And their answer was, it's the law. So that's something he wanted to examine. So we see that as our two heroes are kind of packing things up, the Guardian here, I think, is kind of going through a moment where he's really thinking about what's been going on in this journey. So it looks like it's really kind of like weighing heavy on his mind here. Going to turn the page. I don't believe we've actually been given a name for him other than the old man. And there's nothing that really stands out about him other than maybe he has a 5 head. Rather than a 4 head, he has a 5 head. And, okay, maybe a few people stop and say, God damn, that head's big. But other than that, I don't think he kind of stands out in any way. So anyway, we see Oliver. He's driving. Hal is kind of napping here. So Oliver is having this conversation with one of the Guardians. And they're basically just telling the reader here that they've been on the road long enough, and we kind of feel like we need to kind of stay in one place. And the Guardian's like, I agree with that. I don't like shitting in the woods either. But anyway, as Oliver's driving, it appears that a truck has jumped the lane. So it's going to hit our hero's vehicle straight on. Oliver, he has these quick reflexes, of course. He's able to swerve, but the problem is that they're on a bridge. So there's no room to swerve. So as they're swerving, the truck smashes through the bridge's barrier, and it lands in the river right here. Now, Hal is the one guy who could really help him here, but he was asleep. But thankfully, the crash was enough to awaken him. And he was able to use his power ring just in time to save not only himself, but Oliver and the Guardian here. And we see Green Lantern. He's thanking, thank God, Oliver has these quick reflexes. Otherwise, I could have been splattered at this point. Gonna turn the page. Before the Green Lantern goes to the surface as they're in these individual stasis fields, Green Lantern takes the opportunity to change Oliver's clothing into the Green Arrow. So right now the heroes are Green Lantern and Green Arrow at this point. They make it to the surface. Green Arrow's saying, hey, come on, guy. Where's that power ring to help us out here? But Green Lantern's saying, listen, I made a deal. We're going to play this as human as possible. And I'm going to be really strict with this rule. And I could fly us out to safety and stuff, but you know what? We'll just bob around in this filthy river water. However, there is a ship nearby. So they wave to it, and the captain is aware of this, and the captain rescues the 3 men from the river here. The captain is kind of just talking to the guys here, just saying, hey, I kind of been hauling out crabs, but or lobster, but I never hauled out superheroes before. Green Arrow, he's a little inquisitive about the cargo because he's seeing all these metal containers, And the captain's saying that it's just toxic waste. And the captain tells the heroes that it's toxic waste and that they're taking it somewhere so it can be properly disposed of. However, one of the sailors informs the captain that there's a problem, and it's the boiler. And the boiler is starting to overheat. The captain's a little ticked here because he's like, hey guys, you should have told me this sooner. Can you turn the page? Also, Green Lantern is offering to help. So anyway, the captain and Green Lantern, they're taking a look at the boiler here. The pressure is increasing, so it appears that they have to kind of slow down this boiler, otherwise it's going to explode. Green Lantern's taking a look at the situation, saying, "Hey, I really can't help you. Like, honestly, Hal, you knew the issue involved a boiler. You knew shit about fixing a boiler, but you were just like, I might be able to help you." But then when he's actually confronted with the boiler, he's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Captain is saying, hey, dude, why the fuck did we go into this room? I thought you could actually fix this thing. Now we need to get the hell out of this boiler room before it explodes. However, the boiler does explode and Green Lantern is caught in the blast. The captain helps the unconscious Green Lantern out of the boiler room. He's informing Green Arrow and the Guardian that it appears that Green Lantern is out for the count. So the thing is, the easy fix of having Green Lantern use his power ring isn't available here. The engine room is catching fire fast, and the ship looks like it's in real trouble. But the thing is, Green Lantern is in bigger trouble because he's completely unconscious, and he really got caught by that explosion. And Green Arrow is concerned about him at this point. He's saying, this looks really bad. I don't know if we can fix this. Green Arrow, he asks the Guardian for some assistance here, because the Guardian does have some of his Guardian powers. However, on this trip, he was depowered himself. This is something to make the situation more realistic. By kind of depowering these guys, this is one of the things that Denny O'Neil did. So the thing is, the Guardian actually does have some considerable power, but it's not the omnipotent power that it was portrayed in those earlier Silver Age comic books. The Guardian is looking at the situation. He's sort of having that Spock moment. If you remember Spock in Star Trek II,
the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one.
So the Guardian is kind of going through that moment. He's saying, listen, I can transport the Green Lantern to the hospital, but the thing is, I won't have enough power to actually do something here. And doing something here might be more meaningful in terms of actual numbers. Because, do I save one life, or do I save thousands or millions, based on whatever theoretical models here. But the thing is that the Guardian here is close to this Green Lantern. He considers the guy a friend, so he's not just a space cop to him. He's also a buddy. And this is somewhat unusual for the Guardian because he was immortal. So when you live forever, you kind of take friendships for granted because, there's never not enough time to sort of reconnect. Going to turn the page? So the Guardian makes his decision. He decides to save his friend. Because at this point, the Green Lantern's life, this is tangibly in danger. Whereas every other possible situation involves theoretical deaths. The Green Arrow, he applauds this decision. So he's encouraging the Guardian to get Green Lantern to a hospital as soon as possible. However, Green Arrow is noticing that the rest of the crew, they're throwing the barrows overboard. And Green Arrow knows what's in those barrels. So he's like saying, hey guys, what's up? What are you doing? And the captain informs Green Arrow that, listen, this stuff is explosive. And our boiler room is about to explode. So if the ship explodes, all of this is going to explode. And we have to do this because we need to protect the lives of the people around the Bay Area. Green Arrow, he concedes that that was a good reason to do this. So he starts chucking some of the barrels into the river. So the barrels are off the ship. They're in the river. One of the big problems is that during the tossing, some of the barrels opened up. So the toxic waste is currently kind of floating around in the river at this point. The fire is under control, so it looks like the ship will not explode. The captain apologizes to Green Arrow, saying, listen, I didn't like doing that, but, it's a terrible thing, but don't get mad at me. Don't start hitting me. Green Arrow saying, listen, I don't blame you. I know you had to do what you had to do. And it's really the greedy people, the greedy corporations that sort of put us in that position. So he's kind of angry with the corporate executives whose manufacturing techniques created this mess. Going to turn the page. So anyway, the next morning, Hal has been discharged from the hospital. He seems to be pretty chipper here. The Guardian is kind of like, with him. And Arrow also seems to be in a pretty good mood here. So as far as he's concerned, this has been a success. His friend is alive. So Green Arrow is kind of just taking an audit of the day, saying, listen, basically all we did was lose our truck. But other than that, we're probably in pretty good shape at this point. You're out of the hospital, we're in the city, and I'm sure things will take care of themselves. Although Green Arrow is saying, listen, we've also been having a lot of bad luck too. However, there's an announcement from the sky. And it's saying that, attention, lawbreaker on the planet Earth. Green Lantern and Green Arrow, they're kind of confused by this. But the Guardian knows exactly who is calling, who is making that address, and who that address is being directed to. And it's him. And it turns out it's the other members of the Guardian Council. And the thing is, they've been observing what was going on. And the Guardians see a grievous crime here. You should have cared more about the needs of the many rather than the needs of the one. And that constitutes a crime in our eyes. They're all about enforcing laws. I don't know where this law came from. But nevertheless, the Guardians are saying, listen, we know Earthlings don't care about climate change, not really, but we have to. And you and your actions have led to a greater influx of pollution in this fragile world, and we're going to consider that a crime. And the Guardian says that he is guilty of this. Going to turn the page. Take a look at this one ad. It's for Lee's jeans. Jeans actually were just sort of becoming in vogue in terms of acceptance in American culture. Jeans were always around, but the thing is that really prior to the late 60s, early 70s, jeans were something that were really looked down on. Like if you were super poor, and you wore jeans, it was assumed that you were kind of poor. I think maybe in the 1950s, I should say, jeans were a bit more acceptable because of the movies. But yeah, there was a time where people would look down on you if you wore jeans. And it really wasn't until the 1980s where designer jeans came in. And suddenly they were like a status symbol for the very wealthy. But not really back in these days. So it's I think what's going on is a couple kids, they're they're at a Western movie set. They're sort of like on Spawn's Ranch. Spawn's Ranch was infamous because the Manson family had used that as their headquarters. And Spawn's Ranch was ran by a guy called Spawn. And he would use the ranch as a way of making money, either by allowing films to be filmed there, or, they would just have people who would ride on the horses, and sort of like a Western recreation. So anyway, it looks like there's a Western being filmed, and the star actor, who is a kind of a young teenager, he hasn't shown up. And the thing is that, you have this expensive film crew, and they're looking to shoot whatever they have to, and this is costing them money. But then they see little Billy wearing his jeans. And this guy goes up and says, "Hey, little Billy, you want to make some money?" And Billy's like, "Well, what do I got to do?" Well, there's a horse. And, oh, hell no. But then, the guy says, "No, it's not that type of film. And it's a cowboy one. We just want you on the horse because you got those jeans. And it looks authentic." So anyway, Billy's riding. The director is really admiring Billy's ass here. Saying, "Goddamn, that kid looks good with his jeans, on that saddle." Mr. T, he is just stroking at this point. And his friend is saying, "Yeah, my friend's great. He looks great in those jeans. Why do you think I hang out with him?" So anyway, it looks like Billy gets in the movie because the actor didn't show up. Billy took over, and they're saying, this could happen to you if you're wearing your Lee jeans. And we're told they're also available in Canada. And turn the page. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to the story. Green Arrow, who is very much an advocate. Denny O'Neil sort of regretted making him so abrasive. But nevertheless, this is the Green Arrow that Denny O'Neil felt that, comic readers should have. Green Arrow is sticking up for the Guardian, saying, "Listen, he did a good thing. He saved my friend. He saved your cop. He saved a guy who has saved the universe a number of times. How can you see that as a bad thing, saving this life? He saved the life of one of your police officers and also his friend." The Guardian, I guess probably the Chief Justice, he's speaking for the rest of the council, saying, "Listen, climate change is an issue. We know your radio is denying it, but nevertheless, it is an issue. We see it." And the Guardian's actions, he made things for the environment worse. And these theoretical people who are not actually victims yet, they're going to suffer for it. So the tribunal is saying, "Listen, we can't have one of our guys doing this, because we set ourselves up to be the justice system, or the enforcement arm of the justice system for all these planets. And it kind of looks bad when our guys aren't following the rules of the planet that we're enforcing our authority on." So anyway, what they want to do is they don't want to try the Guardian themselves, because they feel like it's a conflict of interest. However, there is another set of aliens who are also kind of busybodies, who are also kind of set up their system where they can also enforce the laws of other planets. But I think this is a little different, because I think the thing is, you actually have to petition that court. So it's not like the justices on Gallo and their tribunal. It's not like they're looking for planets to enforce the law like the Guardians do. They're like saying, "Listen, if a planet has a big dispute, they can come to us." So the Guardians made the request that the tribunal of Gallo try the Guardian here for what happened earlier. Green Lantern is saying, "Listen, can we be there as witnesses to kind of check on him and to make sure he's fine?" The Guardians are like, "Hey, that's cool. That's fine with us. So anyway, Green Arrow's asking what this Gallo place is. Green Lantern is saying, listen, the race of at Oda. So basically, what he's saying is that the Gallows are actually older than the Guardians themselves. So if anything, it was the Guardians who were copying what the Gallows were doing. And their whole life is dedicated to studying law. So this is sort of like the ivory tower here. I think that's something Denny O'Neil also wanted to address, that he felt like a lot of these judges who would enforce the law but not necessarily were interested in justice were sort of kind of like, on these they had these kind of like Ivy League mentalities where they're sort of far removed from the lives of the citizens who they are enforcing. Gonna turn the page. So anyway, Hal, after recharging the battery, he goes on the long trip to Gallo. So they're not transported there. Hal actually has to kind of like fly them out here. They finally land on Gallo. Green Arrow is kind of a little bit discombobulated, saying, wow, that was the wildest trip I've ever taken. And as the three men just land, it looks like one of the planet's mechanical servants is greeting the three individuals here, because they have a very polite society. And the metal servant is ordering that the three of them surrender any weapons that they have. Green Lantern is saying this is customary, so it's not a problem. And any weapons you have, you just simply give it to them, and then when the proceedings are done, they'll give you everything back. The Guardian is noticing that the metal servant, the robotic servant, did not greet them. They immediately got an order to surrender their weapons. And there was no greeting, and the Guardian finds this a little odd. The Green Arrow finds this more than just a bit odd, and because of the rudeness of the robotic servant here, he decides that he's not going to give up his weapons. However, the robotic servant is kind of ticked off about this, and immediately slaps the Green Arrow. Kind of puts him in his place and says, yours is to obey. So at this point, it seems like this is not a fair and impartial place to have a trial. Can you turn the page? Take a look at this ad. It's for scale models, Barnabas of Dark Shadows and the Werewolf. I know this is very popular. I've never actually seen it. I don't think it would be something I would enjoy, though. Can you turn the page? So anyway, gonna go back to the story. The mechanical servant here is just basically whipping Green Arrow's ass here. He's just taking a pounding here. His arrows have been just totally taken out of his quiver at this point, and he's being bitch slapped by a robot. Green Arrow does fight back. We can see here he's trying to throw a jab here, and immediately he strikes metal. So this is a painful experience. However, we notice in his free hand he's holding something, and that's going to come back to be a part of the story a little later. So Green Arrow, he sees that he is outmatched here, and he realizes, hey, I'm just going to have to listen to what Robbie the robot has to say. So the robot, after getting all their weapons, is kind of leading the three men to the chamber where the proceedings will start. Green Lantern is noticing something's wrong here, that things don't pass the smell test. The Guardian isn't quite sure, saying, listen, Who knows? They might have changed their customs. It's been a while since I've been here. So the Guardian is trying to be a bit more open-minded. But clearly, Green Arrow is hostile to this environment, and Green Lantern is kind of suspicious. Going to turn the page. So anyway, they end up in the Justice Chambers. There's one individual who is holding court here. The judge refers to the Guardian as the wrongdoer. So, and he's talking about the right of vengeance. So immediately he's been declared guilty. Green Arrow is noticing this, and he's saying, listen, you haven't proven anything. Why are you using this inflammatory language as though he's guilty? You know, we're here for justice. The Guardian is pointing out that there's only a single judge there. And usually this is done by a tribunal. So they have a number of voices that they listen to and not one single judge. So the three men are kind of like really confused. Green Lantern doesn't like the use of the word vengeance. So at this point, these guys are kind of wondering what the hell's going on here. Green Arrow, he politely and respectfully addresses the court saying, you know, we would like to show that, you know, the accused had good reason to do what he did. The judge is annoyed by this. He orders Green Arrow silenced. In fact, he doesn't want to hear from the other two. So the robotic court officer here is at this point clamping down on the mouths of all three of the heroes here. The judge is saying, listen, we're going to have a polite and orderly proceedings here. And that means I don't need to hear from any of you three. Going to turn the page. However, before Green Lantern's mouth is closed shut, he's saying this is a travesty of justice. So at this point, he realizes that, you know, he can't trust this authority to uphold the laws that he loves enforcing so much. Going to turn the page. So the judge starts the proceedings. The court officer reads the charges to the judge. And obviously this information is being framed in a way that already declares that the Guardian is guilty. Green Lantern is thinking, listen, this robot's lying. And if only I could speak, I can of course make a heartfelt plea to the judge to get this changed. So Hal's being a little bit naive here, because he's saying, if only I can just speak, you know, he'll understand what I'm saying. This is similar to some of the posts I would read in the Prayers to Trump Reddit, where these individuals are writing directly to President Trump in their kind of parasocial relationship that they have. And they're just saying, you know, President Trump, if you just read this, I'm sure you'll understand and will be kinder, at least toward me. So Hal has that kind of gullibility and naivety. The justice is basically saying, you've been accused, thus you're guilty. And now I'm going to trust the jury to return a verdict. And we see a mechanical robotic jury here, made up of various types of robots, but they all come with the same vote, guilty. And the three individuals, they can't believe it here. Green Lantern is thinking that this jury is just basically a pile of rusty robots. Green Arrow, he's thinking that this is like a parody. This is something out of a Kafka novel. And the Guardian is kind of surprised here, and he's kind of scared here, because he knows he's the one who's been sentenced to death. So his thoughts are silent. This is a guy who is immortal, and he's being told that his existence will end. Going to turn the page. So anyway, the judge is saying, listen, things have changed on Gallo, And justice is just for me. And he's basically stating that the Guardian will be put to death. However, Green Lantern and Green Arrow, they have been accused of serious crimes. They have been found in contempt of court, and they will be tried tomorrow for contempt of court. And of course, the penalty for contempt of court is death. So all three individuals are looking to be executed within the next 48 or so hours. They're being led away. The judge is kind of leaving to his chambers. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, they're being thrown into this room. So at this point, they're being detained here. Remember, Green Lantern, he doesn't have his power ring, nor does Green Arrow have his arrows. So these guys are kind of defenseless here. And it turns out that the room that they were thrown in with has the rightful tribunal of Gallo. So the judges that they were expecting to encounter earlier are actually in this retention center too. And because of this, Green Lantern, Green Arrow kind of figures out that judge was not who he should have been. That judge was an imposter. And the tribunal is saying that basically he was the master mechanic. He was the guy who kind of ran things. He was the guy we kind of told what to do. He was kind of the Schneider of our planet here. But then what happened was he started going crazy. Because once again, these individuals, the tribunal, they were in their kind of ivory tower. And they were so focused on studying the finer points of the law, kind of like discussing these little niche things, that they didn't realize that their master mechanic was going crazy. And the master mechanic, he was coming up with his ideas of his own. He knew when to spring his trap. He was all ready for this. So here's an example of say, these kind of like highfalutin intellectuals who are so concerned about, these small little particular things in the wording of law that they did not realize that this individual who just overthrew them was going nuts. Going to turn the page. So that touches on something I think Denny O'Neil wanted to touch on, was the fact that, the judges, they do have to enforce the law, but at the same time, they have to be aware of what's going on in the environment around them. And these guys, they kind of weren't doing that. So anyway, Green Arrow, he's taking kind of like some morbid gallows humor, saying, you sound just as out of touch as the Guardians. Yeah, kind of figured you egg-headed goofballs would fuck it up. Green Lantern saying, listen, the door's open. There's no bars here. Well, why don't you just walk out? Just like I'm going to do. But what happens is that as Green Lantern walks out, he's attacked by a large robot called Cerebrus. And Cerebrus is guarding the door. He's always vigilant. He's quite powerful. And he's the one who's going to make sure that these guys stay in that retaining room until they're ready to be executed. So Green Lantern, he took quite a zap. So what's happening is that Green Arrow, he sees possibilities in this room. He takes a look at the bedding, and he sees enough there that he has the material to create something that will take care of Cerebrus. Gonna turn the page. Gonna take a look quickly at this Columbia Music House ad. It's a double page one. I spoke about these before, so I'm not gonna go over it too much. What's big right now? Simon and Garfunkel. Mark Lindsay. I have to be honest, I've never heard of Mark Lindsay. Three Dog Night. I remember them. The Rascals. This is what the kids were listening to back then. You get the best of Bill Cosby. Crosby, Stills and Nash, Oral Guthrie, Isaac Hayes, James Brown. Yeah, this is the stuff kids were listening to. Continuing, we see Joe Cocker, Led Zeppelin with their second record. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. I actually enjoy Herb Alpert. And Engelbert Humperdinck. Yeah, that's really what the kids want to listen to. So anyway, I'm going to go back to the story. Green Arrow, he's using the materials to create a bow. And he has the bow, he has the string. Everything's looking good so far. He even has the little feather. He's ready for the arrow here. And he has the shaft. Everything looks good. And Green Arrow saying, listen, I'm about to handle Cerberus. Green Lantern's like, are you kidding me? You have a single shaft, and that's it, and there's nothing to it. But as I had mentioned earlier, when Green Arrow was having that violent confrontation with the robotic greeter, Green Arrow was able to snap off one of the heads from his arrow. And that particular arrow contains an extremely powerful explosive. Green Arrow, he was a little uneasy about what was going on. And when he was asked to surrender his weapon, he was like, well, I'll give you almost all of them. So he was able to sort of hide this one single armament, for lack of a better word. And he's going to use that as the explosive to take care of Cerberus. Going to turn the page. So anyway, Green Arrow, he aims at Cerberus. The explosive is powerful enough to completely demolish the robot. So at this point, at least they're able to leave the detaining cell, I should say, or detaining room. The three heroes and the Tribunal, they're kind of sneaking around, kind of like the same way that Obi-Wan Kenobi was sneaking around the Death Star. So anyway, they see the robotic greeter. And this is the greeter that commandeered their weapons. So if they get past the robotic greeter here, they can probably get access to the weapons that were confiscated from them. So Hal comes up with a plan. He's going to run a bluff, and then the other guys are going to step in. So Hal casually walks up to the robot, and he's saying, hey, how you doing? Guess what? I was just acquitted. I'm just as surprised as you, but I'm free. I'm walking here. Give me back my ring. The greeter says that's impossible because the judge never acquits anyone. This is a well-run kangaroo court here, and we already know the verdicts. So come on, dude. Gonna turn the page. So then what happens is that Green Lantern, he runs past the robot, and as the robot is distracted, Green Arrow, the Guardian, and the other members of the Tribunal, they immediately attack the robotic greeter. They're outmatched, but the thing is, they have numbers. So it's taking a while for the robotic greeter to kind of bitch slap these guys. But bitch slapping he is, or bitch slapping it is. The Tribunal, they're really getting pelted here and hammered. However, Green Lantern has found his power ring, and he is all set for battle. Gonna turn the page. So anyway, the empowered Green Lantern, he uses his power ring on the robotic greeter. It has been turned into sludge at this point. So it's completely melted. And then the individuals, they hear a bonging sound. And it's the doom knell. And we're being told that it's the signal for the beginning of an execution. So the execution of the Guardian, who was taken out of the cell. He wasn't actually put in the cell. He was already in the execution area. Everything was set, and now they're going to begin the execution of the Guardian. So Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and the rest of the Tribunal, they're rushing toward that area to prevent that. Green Lantern, he is really pissed off. He's saying, listen, if the old timer is harmed because you guys screwed up, I'm going to tear this place apart. I'm going to rip it apart. And yeah, you better start running. So we go into the execution chamber at this point. It looks like they have to go 4 levels above where they are now. The judge is talking to the guardian. The guardian is being prepared for execution. So at this point, the guardian is being restrained by these kind of mummified wraps. I don't know whether they're made of metal or not, but nevertheless, the guardian is being constrained by this. The judge is kind of gloating, saying, "Yeah, I kind of enjoy people getting murked here," and he's saying, "I bet you've been wondering about me." You know, kind of looking up at me and being a little bit impressed by me. Hey, you must think I'm awesome, and you must be wondering about who I am. And I know that those are going to be your burning last thoughts. The Guardian is saying no. He's saying, "I know a nutcase when I see it. You're fucking nuts." The judge is offended by this, saying, "Nah, I'm not nuts. I just saw the future. And the future is in plastics, aluminum, metal. I'm throwing my lot in with the robots." This is similar, I guess, to Battlestar Galactica, where like the one humanoid who is running everything for one particular planet, he runs a planet of Cylons. So he's like saying, "Listen, you know, I'm thinking like these metal guys, they have something going for them, and I'm going to be their leader." I'm going to turn the page. So anyway, the judge here, he's just going on and on about a rant, saying, you know, men have been keeping machines in slavery, and I'm just kind of reversing the whole thing. You know, when I saw that movie Maximum Overdrive, where the vehicles wanted to take over, I was rooting for them. I was not rooting for Emilio Estevez. I was rooting for them. And the Guardian is being very quiet here. He doesn't want to dignify this guy. He realizes this is a nutcase. What's the point in arguing with someone like this? So he's just going to quietly accept what's going on. He's just not going to dignify this nut job by pretending that he's even interested in what he has to say. The judge here is just going on and on and on, saying, "Listen, I devised the death that is really perfect. You know, you're going to die in plastic and steel. It's going to be really great. You know, if you're a humanoid, you're going to die like a robot." So anyway, the Guardian is put on this device. So basically what's happening to the Guardian is what happened to Han Solo in Empire. And he's going to be kind of like encased in this, not carbonite, but this sort of plastic column here. And the process is continuing, and as it continues, it gets higher and higher until obviously the Guardian can no longer breathe. And the Guardian is kind of just contemplating his life, just thinking about, wow, I never thought I'd be in this situation, but I kind of am now. And he's kind of thinking about what he had done. He's kind of saying, yeah, for the most part, I think I did a good job. I was a pretty good Guardian. And he's gonna leave life in peace. So anyway, the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and the rest of the Tribunal, they're trying to race to reach the Guardian. This is very similar to what happened in the Sentinels base in issue number 59 of the X-Men, and it's sort of that same motif here. So I'm kind of thinking that this is something that Neil Adams kind of liked. You know, the heroes rushing, you know, to kind of save the day. Gonna turn the page. So we're going to take a look at this ad here. It's a sports-related one. It's one I would have loved. It's basically recordings of various sports teams and sort of the highlights of the year. These are things that probably aired on the radio If you were listening, we got one, the Miracle Mets, who had just won the World Series, the Super Jets, the Jets who had just won the Super Bowl. We see a record on sports highlights of the 1960s, one for the Boston Bruins, we see another one for the Knicks. And one is for Carl Yastrzemski, and another's for the Tiger. Yeah, if you're a sports fan, you could probably find this stuff somewhere. And turn the page. So anyway, as the heroes are rushing through, Green Lantern is obviously taking the lead as the most powerful. So any robot resistance that they are encountering, Green Lantern is just smashing them with his power beam. However, there are other defenses in this base. And one of them is sleeping gas, or actually one of them is mace. So the thing is, the whole corridor is being flooded with mace at this point. Green Lantern, he's trying to keep his head above him. He has to deal with this mace-like substance, and he realizes that this is going to slow them down, because even this stuff is going to affect him. Green Lantern creates a vortex here that blows away the mace-like substance here. It's really not much of a challenge for Green Lantern to handle this, because while he's doing this, taking care of the gas, he's also thinking about what's going on with the Guardian. So he has a little bit of time to self-reflect here. And he's thinking about his own philosophy of being a space cop, how he felt, we just need to obey the law, and that the law, is something that we should treat as sacred, and this is how we, kind of like rule our society. And he's really kind of questioning that attitude. There's law and there's justice, and I've kind of lost track of that. So this is kind of personal growth for Hal Jordan in general. Gonna turn the page. Green Lantern, he's aware of the stakes at this point, and he's creating a fan effect that is breaking up this kind of gas that's designed to stop them. It's really the last defensive measure that they have to take care of, because then they burst into the chambers here. The judge here, he's ready for a fight, and he has the rest of the robots in his chamber set to attack. So this guy's not like giving up. This guy's he's going to go down with the ship. Once again, these guys are no match for Green Lantern and Green Arrow. Green Arrow takes over. He's using some of his arrows here to demolish the robots here. But the thing is, they need to know where the Guardian is, because they don't know about his status. They're looking at the instrument of execution. And they see that the Guardian has been completely encased in this block of plastic. So the thing is, they don't know whether he's alive or not at this point. And they're kind of hoping that it hasn't been long enough where he would actually die. Gonna turn the page. Nothing about this ad stands out. So anyway, going back to the story, Green Lantern, he uses the power ring to destroy the plastic encasing here. And his only thoughts are of the Guardian, and that he wasn't too late. The judge is trying to make a quick exit here. He doesn't think he's wrong in any way. He says, listen, I just need to rebuild. So what he's planning on doing, he's planning on finding another planet where he can set up this justice system again. Green Arrow, he's not going to allow this. The chair that the judge is using is one that has an extension from the wall, similar to how they'll set up chairs for older or disabled people in private homes, where they can take the chair and go up and down on it. Green Arrow, he uses one of his arrows to destroy this mechanism here. So the judge is in free fall at this point. He falls to the ground, and the judge is incapacitated at this point. He's basically in a junk pile. And Green Arrow is saying, this is poetic justice. You are more than deserving of where you are right now. And then Green Arrow is told that there's no need for further violence. Going to turn the page. Because it turns out the Guardian is alive. He survived that procedure. Green Lantern is hugging the Guardian. The Guardian kind of looks a little uncomfortable here. Normally it's the older guy kind of hugging the younger guy, and the younger guy is feeling uncomfortable. But the Guardian is thinking, hey, how, am I rocking the cradle, or are you robbing the grave? However, the Guardian's also saying, listen, I learned one thing being immortal, and that is, where there is life, there is hope. So the Guardian kind of, he has this philosophy, and he actually put it into practical real life application. The Tribunal is expressing its gratitude to both Green Lantern and Green Arrow, saying, listen, we'll reform ourselves. We fucked up, but, we'll fix what we did. Green Arrow is kind of a little suspicious of this, kind of a little stinky-eyed about whether these guys are actually going to reform. So it looks like the Tribunal is kind of going to contemplate things and kind of reset things. So they may not necessarily just simply go back into what they were doing. They realize, hey, we're humbled here, and that we need to sort of, kind of contemplate what had happened. Green Lantern is offering to take the Guardian back to Earth. However, the Guardian is saying, listen, I was sent here for a reason, and I'm going to kind of hang out here for a while these guys get their act together. So the thing is that the Tribunal is kind of going to contemplate what's going on about their system of justice and so forth. And while this is going on, the Guardian is just going to hang out in this alien world and kind of wait until they're done. Green Lantern and Green Arrow, they're like, hey, dude, we can't hang around this place. It kind of sucks. And they're saying, listen, I hope they won't be too hard on you. And bye. Yeah, that's pretty much what the heroes are doing. And the Guardian is waving. It was a little weird because the thing is, there was no resolution to this in issue 81, because the Guardian came right back in front of his fellow Guardians to face justice, at least in their eyes, for what had happened earlier in this issue. So I think there was probably a bit of disconnect, because they were like, okay, well, we have to try this guy again. And that's how the story ends. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at the letters page. I actually do have to read it. So I'm going to take a look at the Green Lantern's mail chute. The first letter is from Carl, and he really likes the direction that the title is taken. At this point, the letters seem to be about issues number 76 and 77. So this is the very start of this storyline, the hard traveling heroes, and we're going to kind of get an idea of how the fans initially reacted. And Carl really likes it, so he likes the direction that the comic is going. The second letter is from TB. TB also likes the direction that the comic is going in, but he's not really focused so much on the issues. Carl, in his first letter, was really kind of focused on the issues. Where TB, he likes where the comic is going because it seems much more contemporary. So what he's seeing two heroes that he feels that he can relate to much better, rather than the one-dimensional characters that were often seen in Silver Age heroes. So again, this is praise, but it's praise mostly for the kind of the change in personalities and not necessarily the focus on the issues. The next letter is from a adult named Charles, and he is normally not a comic book reader. However, he does work with adolescents at a state hospital, and some of the kids were bringing in issues of the Green Lantern, Green Arrow. He started reading them, and he felt that they're doing a really great service for the youth of America, and that he sees what they're doing in this comic as something that children will really kind of grow from. So we're seeing a lot of praise, but it's from different angles here. The next letter is from Donald, and he's praising issue number 76 and 77, saying that, he hopes that people will he hopes that comic book readers will recognize how great this series is, and that hopefully DC will see increase in sales, that this will really spark kind of a movement amongst the rest of the comic book industry to kind of sort of focus more on relevant issues that mean a lot to the readers at the time. And there's lots of praise for the writing, and there's lots of praise for the art. We have a negative letter here from Scott, though. Scott was not a fan of issue number 77. And he feels like maybe these tropes that Denny O'Neil is kind of relying on in the first issue of this series, 76, it was a corporate slumlord who was the villain. The second villain was this kind of West Virginia coal mine owner who employed basically a Nazi force to enforce what was going on, technically on company grounds, but it tended to evolve into something greater. If you're interested in how these coal companies maintained their power, I would recommend a documentary called Harlan County, USA. And it deals with the coal miners' strike. And it also dealt with how the coal industry, the coal mine owners, enforced their laws. And basically, they had in-house security. They basically had their own goon squads. And these goon squads were often more powerful than the local police establishment, because the police establishment were paid off just like the politicians. And this company goon squads would have tremendous power. So the thing is that this, so Scott here thinks kind of like maybe that they're kind of going in a direction that seems a bit too black and white. Green Arrow is a bit too sanctimonious. The villains are kind of clownishly one-dimensional and so forth. And I think he's accusing Denny O'Neil of kind of like putting his politics into the comic and doing it in a way that makes it seem like a parody. The next letter is by Earl. He feels 77 was a landmark issue, and he's enjoying the changes in the characters, feeling that they're making these characters more human. So he kind of likes that. Jim here is the last letter. He's talking about how ugly issue 77 was, and how the horrible society that was presented in that comic book. But Jim is also saying that the issue was beautiful because you were showing the ugliness of what's going on in this country right now. So Jim is praising them for their honesty and their truthfulness in telling this story that you normally would not see in comic books. So that was going that so that was so that's what was going on in the letters page at the time. That's it, and that is my review of Green Lantern Green Arrow number 80, and I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.